Welcome to our July meeting for North College Hill City Council. Good to see everyone come out tonight. We will start, as we always do, by standing for our prayer and then our Pledge of Allegiance. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
We call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, well, if anyone wishes to address council this evening, there is a sign-up sheet on the corner of the table up there. I would ask that you go sign in for public comment. Hope everybody had a good holiday weekend. Everybody's got 10 fingers still? Finger check. We're all good?
All good.
All right. So, good to have everybody come out tonight. Mr. Hedger will not be with us this evening, so I will be managing his duties as well as mine. And so we will start with roll call. Ms. Zorb.
Here.
Ms. Gaston. Ms. Chichester.
Here.
Ms. Alexander.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Present.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
And Ms. Underwood.
Here.
All right, Ms. Gaston did alert me today she was unable to attend tonight.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I move that we excuse Ms. Gaston from this
Mr. President.
evening's meeting.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson.
a second.
Motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Mr. Wilson to excuse Ms. Gaston this evening. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. You have tonight's agenda. It is 2 pages.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I make a motion we accept tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Chichester, second by Ms. Underwood to accept tonight's agenda. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I noticed that there is an executive session on the agenda. Do we know when are we going to go into executive session? After old business but before new business, or how are we doing that?
No, we're doing it how it is on the agenda.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Underwood. Or
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. All right, and you have the minutes from the June 2nd meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I make a motion we accept the minutes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Chichester, second by Ms. Underwood to accept the minutes from the June 2nd, 2025 meeting. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
That motion also passes 6-0. Communication, I'm not aware of any communication other than we did get the final invoice from Iron Mountain. That was included in the packet that you received tonight. With that, we'll go to council committees, starting with City Community Development and Recreation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson.
yes, City Community Development and Recreation met on June 9th at 2025 at 7:01. We discussed the welcome baskets, just the so there will be suggested packets for renters with the city information inside of them baskets. I think the beautification program had took place and was completed. So we move on that. Mr. Davis was not in attendance to discuss the bike trail. We had the Juneteenth wrap-up discussion. I believe Ms. Tychester did a magnificent job landing that. I mean, it was excellent. I enjoyed myself. Old business, I had brought up the discussion about the trash cans replacements. I did pass out the information that was previously delivered for that that ideal. If you guys can just take out time and look at it, and we'll discuss that furthermore in committee. New business, Mr. Wallace introduced himself as the new code enforcement officer and his plans for the city, which was very interesting. And, you know, I stand behind Mr. Wallace and those who made the decisions to bring him aboard. It was an excellent choice. The results are actually turning out to be beneficial for NCH. The meeting adjourned at 7:29.
Thank
Our
you.
next meeting will be July. I'm sorry.
14th.
Thank you. Appreciate it. July 14th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Next is budget and finance.
Alrighty, on our meeting on June the 9th, we had a packed agenda where we talked about the fire levy, the street levy, the Rita non-filer update. We gave the monthly report, and we discussed the 1500 building as well. And our next meeting is July the 14th at 7:30. That's next week, right? Yep.
Thank you. Next is rules and public policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on June the 9th, 2025. We talked about the comprehensive plan. We discussed council committees. We talked about the 911 legislation, briefly talked about the charter review committee report and what the next steps are with regard to that. I just have my agenda. I don't seem to have my notes. Our next meeting will be next week on July 14th.
Thank you. And public safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, we have police department updates, fire department updates, public works updates. We also welcomed Mr. I know his first name, I don't know his last name. Mr. Aaron Wallace. Welcome, Mr. Wallace. Chief Cheney, of course, he was always there. He provided us some information about the police department. And our next meeting will be Monday, July 14th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Next up is a time for ad hoc reports. If anyone has an ad hoc report to give this evening. All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Administrative reports. The mayor was not able to be with us this evening, so we'll move on to the city administrator's report. Good evening, Ms. Dukestein.
Good evening. I just have a question about the ad hoc report. Was there a report from the school board?
I was not able to attend the
Okay.
school board because they changed the date on me, and it was in the middle of the day as opposed to the evening.
Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted to extend a sincere thanks to the NCH School District for allowing the city to host half of their Juneteenth celebration at the school. That portion of it was very nice. The whole entire portion was nice, but that I appreciate the hosting. And a thank you to Chase Bank also for their donations. And we had some other donations as well. And I have sent thank you letters out to those individuals, entities that donated in any way to our city event. And then we also had our we successfully navigated July 4th, so yay. And then there is, I wanted to remind everyone that Fire and Street levy, the final step is on the agenda tonight, but it will be on the ballot in November. We have some great news. Our code enforcement officer will be getting a car thanks to our police department. We were able to partnership in making sure that they have a car and it has some decals, and we looked at the final stages of that today. So if you see Mr. Wallace riding around, you'll know that he's doing his job. We're excited about that. We had Duncan open, and that was exciting. And I always get the Mexican market wrong, the name of it. I'm sorry.
Latina minimum.
Yes,
Cena.
yes. But I was excited about that. I did go in, got some snacks that my children and I were able to enjoy. So many things have been coming out. We've got the welcome baskets with ARETA information that our finance department supplied to Ms. Gaston and her crew. We had the yard beautification, the newsletter dropped. I wanted to comment on the trash cans. So I know we are just circulated to our department heads the budget for 2026. My suggestion is that we put that to 26 since we have not built it in this budget, but to just consider what that will look like. And that is all. Oh, no, I have one more thing. I'm so sorry. I put on your spaces, and you can let me know. And if anybody from the audience wants one, there's extra copies here. Put those down there. So in your packet, Mr. Graver pointed to the only communication was the Iron Mountain invoice. So in your packet, I put council's entire budget, and you can take this over to Budget and Finance for more conversation. But this is what your budget looks like. Here's where you are for an actual. There's not really a time and space where we've kind of talked about this, where council is. In the past, council hasn't spent much money. This year, that looks a lot different, mainly because we had to digitize, which was an $8,700 cost. And so I wanted to kind of talk about thinking about what your spending would be for next year and what your anticipated needs were going to be, so that you can put that in your budget and finance conversation, because we are in the process of building the budget for next year. Additionally, you guys have taken on some more projects that we've kind of adjunctly put here and there. So you might want to talk about where those projects are going to go next year. If you're going to keep them in-house, like yard beautification, it's perfectly fine to push those over to recreation, the recreational director to come. But I wanted to just bring your attention to what your actuals are, where you have spent. And so the line that I have highlighted, it says election expense HC. I'm not familiar with what that represents. Are you all? I am. Okay, Miss. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, that's, the HC is Hamilton County. That's when we put stuff on the ballot.
Okay, so there are two places. So the levies that we put on the ballot for this year, I took them out of that line because it was represented in a different space. So, as you know, we can appropriate funds from amongst fund balances, but lines we can move. And so I just wanted permission. I would like to use that money to pay for your Iron Mountain invoice. It's a $200 difference. We'll find the difference, because that's not something you all budgeted for. It's not necessarily that I have to. I just wanted to let you know where your money is going. And if there's any strong aversion, because we don't need to use that money to put anything else on the ballot. We've already taken care of the fire levy and the street levy. because you didn't budget for it. But if you want to appropriate some funds from someplace else, that's just going to carry over to the next year.
Mr. President?
Ms. Orr.
So I know we approved I'm asking my fellow council members, I know we approved the Iron Mountain thing. Did we not appropriate money when we did that?
No, we did not.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson.
Ms. Zor, to answer your question, I personally don't remember us appropriating any money towards it. I just thought we approved to do the work, to approve the company to do the work.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
when we were talking about it, we were still getting quotes. We couldn't allocate funds for it in the direct amount until we got quotes. We just recently,
But
no, we didn't,
we approved the quote.
but that was this year.
Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein.
So I think what happened is this budget got approved at the end of 2024. We didn't really start digging into quotes for this until early 25. So I do not think you guys appropriated resources, but that's why I was bringing up that expense, because I think it's a good place to take it from, because there's another line item where we could use to absorb the cost for the street levy and the fire levy, which we have already done. So I don't want to spend your money without letting you know which way, how we're charging things, especially since this was not built in 2025's budget.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Dukestein?
The only last thing I have about this is I want you all to have a copy. So as you are thinking about the things that you will spend forward, you have an exact, and this will kind of be a template to what you want to do next year. And you all can respond to Ms. Stevens, Knott, and myself to help us fill it in. So when when we give you the budget and do the budget presentation this year, you have some direct input on where and how you want your resources. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the Law Director's report. Mr. Dieters.
Mr. President, I do not have a report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for the Law Director?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
Mr. Dieters, what, if we want to get the recommendations for the Charter Review Committee on the ballot, what do we need to do? Like, what are next steps and what are our deadlines?
Well, it's 75 days prior to the election date, which would be sometime in August. I'd have to look at the calendar. What? August 5th. I just phoned a friend and got the answer, but it's August 5th. So we would have to prepare a piece of legislation and a resolution to place it on the ballot. It'd
Okay,
have to be voted on.
thank you.
All right, next we have the Finance Director's report.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was
Ms. Orr.
processing, Mr. President. So, Mr. Dieters, I feel like there's a step before getting on the ballot, and that step would be legislation in front of council and for council to approve it.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'd have to prepare a resolution for council to place it on the ballot.
So it's not a two-step process.
No, I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean,
So council would have to, because there's a litany of proposed.
yeah, I was just assuming that based solely on the recommendations. Now, if there was debate as to what was actually approved, that might require more
That's where I was
steps.
going.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood.
So there is another step to the process other than the legislation. Council actually has to go through each recommendation and say yes or no. So that would, since our deadline is August the 5th, that would probably require a special meeting if that's what we intend to do. And I probably will call a special meeting to have that done because we had citizens who volunteered their time for that. So we'll either approve it or not, but, at least I want to honor the time that people volunteered toward the charter review.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zor.
sorry. I feel like I'm picking on you tonight. So I did have another question for the law director. So at the June council meeting, so our last council meeting, there was a discussion regarding meeting notices. And we were told that a notice on the building was not necessary. And when you told us that, that didn't jive what was in my memory, so I did a little more digging. And I dug up that there was, speaking of charter amendments, there was a charter amendment passed on November 3rd of 2019. It was Ordinance 7, 2019. And I want to read exactly what we passed. It says, Section 3.05, notice for all regular meetings, special meetings, and committee meetings shall be posted at the city's administrative office, which I assume now means here, and at the city's primary online calendar at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. So it is required to be posted at this building and on the website.
Is that all, Ms. Zor?
It is for now.
All right, next we'll move on to the finance director's report. I don't assume we have a report this evening.
No, we don't have a report, but I did want to make sure that everyone was aware that the public notice has been laid out for our public hearing for our budget. We are in budget time, so the notice is out.
Thank you. All right, that'll move us to call the members, starting with Ms. Zor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I hope that everyone had a safe and enjoyable 4th of July. I was happy to attend and welcome Dunkin' Donuts to the city for their grand opening, and I was also able to attend the Juneteenth celebration. So thanks to everyone who made all of those events successful and fun. Also, we did receive a notice from the state auditor stating that that North College Hill will be in the audit process beginning for the 2023 and 2024. So we all look forward to that. I'm curious, Ms. Dukes-Dean, do you have the status of our city devices, and do you want legislation to cover those? Because again, those are not in our budget also. So do you want an appropriation? How do you want us to handle that?
So I thank you for bringing that up, because actually that was on my list to talk about. That's actually also why I had on there, but then I got lost in these things. But if you allow us to take that money from there, we were going to look for and have to do an appropriation for the computers, which is why they're not purchased yet. When we looked at the budget and realized that you all didn't have it in your budget to purchase. So yes, that's also what we need.
An appropriation?
Yes,
Can you give me a ballpark number and I'll,
about $4,500.
thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And then also, if you look on this sheet, you guys haven't spent anything for training. We are allowed to move within lines. If we're taking from a whole nother fund balance and putting it in your balance, that's when we have to have an appropriation that hits council floor. So there are some other spaces where we can pull that money from to kind of make sure that you guys get the computers that you asked for. So that's also why I have lines highlighted, and I had Ms. Knotts print this out.
Okay, next, Ms. Dukes-Dean, this is for you too. On the 6-9 finance meeting, you made a statement that you said RWB was the number 3 company in the country for asbestos abatement. I'm going to ask you where that statistic came from, because I've searched all the sites. I've searched Ohio sites. I've searched national sites. I can't even find them listed at all, let alone in the top 3. Can you please cite your resource to substantiate that statement?
Yes, I'll send it to you via email because I don't know it off the top of my head.
Thank you. Then, with regards to the 1500 building, I would like to propose that all of council should don the necessary PPE and perform our own visual examination of the space, and then make the determination, would they want their children to run around and play in this space? I know that there's members of there's members up here that have respiratory issues of their own. So if if the plan is for children to play in this space, then the adults should not be afraid of it either. I'd also like to request to have an unbiased Hamilton County engineer walk with us when we do this assessment. One last thing. I've reviewed for hours I spent reviewing minutes and legislation. And I've only found minutes on January 1, 2020, where a citizen requested council to consider approving the contract for Pies Park, but I was unable to find any related documents on the website or my personal email. So I can't find anything that authorized a city manager to go into a contract. I can't find the contract. So I am officially requesting a copy of the contract that is between North College Hill and Clovernook Center for the Blind regarding Pies Park. If that could please get emailed to me, I would appreciate it.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'm sorry, I hate to kind of sprinkle into what you were saying, but what I've discovered in my own research is that when our servers switched from Gmail to Outlook, we lost a lot of emails. So, you know, if you were like me and putting emails in folders, trying to save them and save the attachments, unfortunately, they seem to be just gone. And I don't know if there's a way to recover them or, what that is, but there's quite a bit that was in there, so.
So I used to be really good at putting stuff in folders, so maybe that's why I can't find it.
Well, if it was sent in the Gmail
It
system,
would have
it's
been.
gone.
Yep. Thank you. Well, that explains it. Thank you.
Is that all, Ms. Orr?
That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chichester?
Thank you, Mr. Graver. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out on Friday. We started at 6 a.m. and we did not, Friday, June the 20th. We started around 6 a.m. Thank you to NCH High School and their staff, Corey. And we all didn't leave until like 9-ish, after cleanup. It was a great event. I'm glad the community came out. Thank you to Councilman Wilson for coming out, rolling up his sleeves, and as always, helping cleaning up the community and being there on the Food Truck Friday. We played some games, the community engaged. It was a great event. The resource fair official update from Hamilton County is coming, unless you already received that, Ms. Dukestein. Did you receive that yet? Okay. So they're going to be sending us the update about services and how many people were served and how many services were added or given out that day. Ms. Dukestein, I heard you mention that we had $2,000 in the budget for training, but if I recall, that triggered something in my memory that we're supposed to be doing some type of training. Do you have that date or time, or did we confirm that?
You guys didn't agree to do it.
We did not. Okay.
I mean, the option is available for you to still do training. I can set that up, but you didn't
But
agree.
we all had to collectively agree together
Yeah,
in order
so
to
it was
do it.
like, we get one price if
Right,
you
I
all do
remember
it, or we get individual prices that almost double if you do it individually. So if you guys were not willing to do it as a group, I thought it would be very costly. And then
Right, I
we're in an
remember that.
election year, so
Can you refresh my memory as to what the training was about?
it's some new training. It is training for council members, specifically your civic responsibility for new council members, sunshine laws, in an in-depth application. It has some application for like internet usage.
I thought that's all free.
Huh?
I thought that was all free.
You said you thought it was free?
Like the records training is,
The records training is free, Sunshine Laws is free, but this particular training is for council members, new, like an onboarding, if you will. And that part is not free. Built in that is some additional training and more in-depth for Sunshine Laws and how they apply, especially like online today. So I thought it might be applicable.
Well, if we don't do the training, then we could put it in the budget for 2026.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that's it from my end.
Thank you, Ms. Chichester. Ms. Alexander?
I had a chance to participate in the Juneteenth celebration. It was wonderful. I'd like to thank Chase Bank, the volunteers, all the families that participated, Public Works, the school, the council members, the Clears, the Curitons, who were just actively, involved and had booths, and, they were really like emceeing and hustling, and the DJs, the cleanup crew. I specifically like those people who work behind the scenes. They're the ones that really dig in and make things a success, and I just really want to thank them. The food trucks, the people who participated in the resource fair. I learned a few opportunities that I could share with other people. Ms. Chichester, thank you for bringing all of those people in. Mr. Wilson, thank you for your always, participating. And for those who, who couldn't make it, but I know they were cheering, from the outside. Also, I had a chance to go to the Latino market. I've been there a couple times. Matter of fact, I went today to get these nice butter cookies. I had a chance to meet Mr. Ivan. He is a joy. He's excited to be here. Also, had an opportunity to go with the beautification committee to present the yard sign awards. Oh my God. The way their faces lit up, it was like Publishers Clearinghouse. I said, next time we're going to have whistles and everything like that. But the people, they were just like, oh, well, I just love to, do a little something here, do a little something there. But they were so excited. You would have thought that we were like actually giving them some money. They were excited to have their plaques, and we got to meet their dogs and, their kids. And for the people who weren't there, next, I got a phone call, and because me and Brielle had left our cards for the people who weren't there. And I get this phone call, and it was during like work hours, and you think it's spam. And so when I answered the phone, I didn't want to give out too much information. They was like, it's someone with an unusual name. I speak to, I'm like, well, that could be me or my husband. But I didn't want to give out any information. And come to find out, it was one of the participants that weren't there when we were there. And she was just so excited. She was just, thanked the city so much. And, we've just thanked everyone. And I hope that could be contagious. Other neighbors saw us presenting the awards to their neighbors. And they were like, well, what are you doing? Well, how did they get that? So, hopefully that'll just spread, that beautification. And, Brielle is a whiz in making those advertisements and, she designing those signs and everything like that. So it was really, really awesome. And also, we're getting excited about the party in the park. Oh my God, there is so much going around on that. Competitions with kickball, the firemen and the police, food contests. We also are going to have like a sensory sensitive play area, which I think is really awesome. For the kids who, hopefully, we're looking for volunteers and getting ideas, chalk and coloring and, music and things of that nature.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt, but yes, remember I did that last year at the Harvest Fair. I've done it at other city events. Let me know if you need any suggestions or ideas.
We don't turn down anything but our collars. Yes. Yeah, so we're still looking for ideas and participants, and that's going to be on August 16th from 1 to 5. And just be looking for some more advertisements that are going to be coming out. And we look forward to it, and we hope that the city looks forward to it as well. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, as usual, I always like to thank the mayor, the city administrator, the financial director, the law director, the chief of police, chief of fire, everyone that participates behind the scenes for North College Hill to help us operate and move in the direction that we're trying to. You know, I'm very thankful. As a part of this community, as a part of council, I really enjoy all of the individuals that I sit here and work with. I might not see eye to eye with them, but I truly enjoy. Just commenting, just speaking on 1500. As a member, I will say that I would take my child into that building after it's cleaned up and safely made safe for everyone to attend. The goal of the purpose of this building is to be a recreation center and an administration building for NCH, and it has to meet that goal. It's not been meeting that goal for some years now. We've been kicking it and kicking it and kicking it, and there's no longer time for us to kick this can. This can will be crushed. We will move forward with establishing that building in the direction that it needs to be, and that's for the best interest of the North College Hill citizens, all ages, all genders, all races. It doesn't matter. That building has to be operable. It makes no sense for us to have this building and it's not doing anything for us. That's a problem. We have to move forward. Other than that, as we move on and move in North College Hill today, we all are stepping out here and putting in our best work and our best effort. And I truly appreciate the 7 individuals that sit at this table with me, because this is a very tedious job. And I am so glad that these individuals are sitting down with me. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Okay. Listen. First of all, I like to thank everybody who was involved, everybody who visited, and everyone who supported the Juneteenth weekend's festivities. I'm thankful for y'all. My kids, nieces, and nephews came from out of town. They said they enjoyed themselves, and they were out of my hair for a couple of hours, so I could go get some sleep before work. I greatly appreciate y'all. And also another piece. For another piece, I'm going to say something I wasn't supposed to say out loud. I'd like to thank Mr. Wilson. I've got a neighbor over on Southwest where they've been getting complaints about their grass isn't cut. People been saying like, okay, why aren't they going to call and complain about this? Who's the code enforcement officer, so on and so forth. I just happened to be on the phone with him talking about a completely unrelated issue, and he just mentions, I just mentioned like they got an issue, their grass cut. I'm come back going to work in the morning. I'm getting ready to go to work. Vic pulling the lawnmower off his truck. Like I said, I ain't heard a man ask for a dime. I didn't offer him. That's one of those where some people. Like some people, sometimes you call the qualified, or sometimes you got to call. Sometimes you have to qualify the called. You know, when you see that community is something worth investing in. Community is worth putting in the sweat. Community is worth putting in to make sure that we're all in this together to help us to get through that. And that's one of those where I don't know if I got to thank you in person, but thank you, Mr. Wilson.
You're welcome, sir.
Is that all, Mr. Davis?
We got a motion NCH meeting next week, next month or so. I have completely forgot when that is. Chuck, I'm sorry.
Is it the 3rd Thursday of July?
It actually is something different.
Okay.
I'll make sure I'll make sure I got that clearly and announced in full next week in community. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Thank you. Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the only reason I'm commenting on this is because I believe that it is somewhat relevant to my position on council. Otherwise, I do not care what anybody else thinks about me. It is none of my business. Number one, I don't have spare time to think about what somebody else thinks about me. And I applaud people who have hours to sit there posting on Facebook. I don't have time to do that. So bravo for you. However, I am an attorney. I am a defense attorney. I defend people in criminal actions. I am also a civil rights attorney. I am a family law attorney. I am proud of that. I have been an attorney for 30 years, and I am proud of what I do. I'm going to tell you a very brief story. There is somebody who just so happens to live in North College Hill who needed my help. They stop by my office, they knock on the door, they don't need an appointment. And when they come in and they ask me a question, I graciously answer those questions. Nobody gets to hear about those situations because I don't talk about them because I'm not putting anybody's business in the streets. But I help plenty of people because when your friend or your family member or somebody you know is handcuffed or accused of a crime, or they think, or they're going through a divorce, or they're going through a custody battle, and they're afraid, they want somebody that they know is going to defend them properly. And that is what I do. I don't apologize for that. It's like, that being said, I think you should know is that Chief Plackey and Chief Cheney are both sitting in this room today, and you can ask them if I support them. I absolutely support them. So I would not do anything that I believe is a conflict of interest to my position as a North College Hill City Council member. I haven't done that, nor will I do that. But I also don't apologize for getting my coins. That's how we eat. So, I mean, it is what it is. I am a lawyer, and my family has benefited from that. My clients benefit from that. And, when you work and you do something else, you're not in the public eye. I am. You don't hear about, the other cases that splash across the news that happen to be mine because you're not necessarily looking for my names. But my cases splash across the news all of the time. And what I will also say is that I've represented other council members before.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying who and what, but trust me, when people get in trouble, they stop me after the meeting. Can I ask you a question? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem helping. I have a heart for helping people. So, but if you really want the tea, I advise you to go to the Clerk of Court's website and look up case number A14-03791 and the two related appeals, C16-0233 and C16-0215, wherein one council member hired another council member to sue the city of North College Hill with their spouse, who was an employee of the city of North College Hill. So there you go. And it got so messy, in fact, that attorneys had to recuse themselves, and the city of North College Hill had to actually hire a very pricey law firm to defend us in that lawsuit. So if anybody wants to post something on Facebook, why don't we do that? I'm going to repeat that for you one more time. A14-03791, and you will see a very familiar name when you look at that. So since you want to be a busybody, and I would also like to say thank you for everybody for the Juneteenth celebrations. And I also want to say thank you to Chief Cheney for sending officers to check the doors to make sure the doors are locked for the businesses. I really appreciate getting those little notes taped to the doors. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. That'll bring us up to remarks from the audience, and
Mr.
we'll start
President.
with Annalise Clear.
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Ms.
I
Dukestein.
have one thing that I wanted to remind council of that I did not remember when we were talking about the Iron Mountain invoice. If you pull that invoice out, if you look at the top and it says new charges, it says storage, and then it's a charge for $180. And you look at the storage period that invoice is for, it's from 7/1 to 7/31. So I wanted to remind you that even if we pull the $8,500 from the election expense HC, we still will need some appropriation for that because it's an ongoing price of $180 per month. So that's looking at like $1,000 for the rest of the year. So you guys will have to make a decision about that. Sorry.
Ms. Clear, please state your name and your address and then proceed.
My name is Annalisa Clear, 6917 Rob Verne Drive. First, before I begin, I do have a housekeeping question. I requested to speak before the agenda came out, so I didn't know what other topics were going to be on the agenda at the time. It's my understanding I get 5 minutes, though, because I asked ahead of time. Am I bound by what I originally said I was going to talk about? I will talk about that, or there's a couple other things I wanted to ask about.
I mean, I know it's in the
I wasn't sure of the exact
the
rules on
rules, or is
that.
it in the charter? Mr. Dieters,
In the
it's
rules. It's not in the charter.
in the rules. I mean, I'm okay if you want to. Yeah,
I mean, it's your meeting, so
yeah,
let me know.
I'm fine with it. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you. First of all, I wanted to let people know, save the date. Car show is coming September 1st. That is Labor Day. It's usually always held on Labor Day. It's a fantastic event, organized once again by the Krimmer family. If that name sounds familiar, yes, they are related to Italianette up the street. I put the notice out on Facebook and I already have the council choice volunteers already lined up and ready to go. So I was going to ask about that. I don't need to now. But I was also going to say Mayor's Choice. She's not here, but she'll probably be reaching out to get a couple of you to help her judge. Also police and fire. We're going to have categories for you again. And American Legion, I see that Ms. Albers is here. So they usually have a trophy that they award for the American Legion. So we'll be reaching out about that. So it's a fun day. Probably close to 2,000 to 3,000 people, I would say, come during the course of the day and participate in our business districts. Our businesses that are open are so busy that they actually have to call in help. So this is a great event for economic development in the city and getting people to North College Hill. So it's a great event. Second thing, along the lines of proceeds, I want to mention proceeds. The Krimmer family and the Hilltoppers have decided to support the Margaret B. Rost School with Hamilton County Department of Disability Services as the beneficiary of donations for the event. So I'm excited about that. I just, on a personal note, I wanted to thank everyone who was involved with Juneteenth. That event is a huge undertaking, and it was even huger this year. It takes a small army. So obviously, Ms. Chichester, Mr. Wilson were of huge help on Friday, as well as the Keratin family. School district, of course. Saturday, we had amazing performance by the dance team. The name is escaping me right now. But I did want to call that out as well. Keratin family, again, helped. School district, couple, Miss Bratchett, Miss Kitchen from the school district. Again, Chase Bank, amazing. I've worked with Chanel for 3 or 4 years already on this event. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time, and it was a great, great event. So how much time do I have left?
2.5 minutes.
Perfect. I'm debating whether to say this now or say it later. I think I'll say part of it now. I wanted to say, as a former city employee, I think I have a unique perspective on what it was like to work in the 1500 building versus working here at the Senior Center building. I'm probably the only person seated in the room today who routinely worked in the 1500 building every day for 2 years. Most recently worked here from March 2024 to April 18. My desk was right back there. Previously, I worked at 1500 from March to March 2022 to 24. My personal opinion as a former employee who worked in both spaces, the experience working here versus there is night and day. This is a professional, well-renovated, updated, modern, clean, nice building that I was proud to bring volunteers, citizens to meet with me here and volunteers, community partners. There's no contest in terms of where if as an employee, if the employee's opinion would matter, and I know I don't work for the city anymore, but if the employee's opinions would matter, that is what I would offer for consideration.
1 minute.
Thank you. Morale matters. Pride in your workspace matters, especially when you have to present your workspace to the public. I cannot imagine working back in there again on a daily basis unless there's some radical changes to that building and not just the environmental. So environmental is a given, but I'm just saying from a work experience of working there long-term every day, here long-term every day, there's no contest. No contest at all. This is centrally located. It's on the bus line. It's modern. It's clean. It's updated. Modern internet. And that's all I wanted to say personally on that piece of my thoughts on the 1500 building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orr.
I heard Ms. Clear mention the dance team, and I forgot to mention this. I don't know if anyone noticed on the dance team, one of our previous council members, Miss Ornita Brown, was on the dance team. So I got to see her and talk to her and catch up with her while she was out there shaking her groove thing. I don't know.
Thank you. All right, next up is Ms. Kathy Cureton.
Before I even get started, typically it's here. Where are the pieces of legislation for tonight? They're here. Oh, right in front of me. Okay. All right. And also before I get started, I wanted to say something to everyone. Please don't even start my timer.
You can't.
Oh,
You can't
okay.
have a before I get started time.
Okay,
You have
understood.
your 5 minutes. Go ahead
Yes,
and
sir.
state your name.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
your address,
sir.
and let's roll.
Yes, sir. Kathy Curitan, 6718 Devonwood Drive, North College Hill. So that means I'll even talk faster. So if a public servant, I talk loud, so forgive me. If a public servant who serves all of us who live here in this city and those who work here ever says to you, I don't care what people think, it might be a time for a changing of the guard. Because just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. Chew on that. So good evening, council members, administration, fellow residents. I said my name is Kathy Curitan, and I stand here tonight because I love this city. I live here. I'm raising my family here. I'm very active in this community. Over the past year, we have seen so many things unfold here in North College Hill that demand accountability and honesty. Just because you can does not mean you should. Just because it's been done doesn't mean that you should do it again. I've seen dismissive attitudes and one-sided agendas that put personal power, the mighty dollar, above what's right for our neighborhood. Early on, when I first noticed this behavior, I raised my concerns directly with the mayor because I knew some of these relationships were personal and long-standing. But instead of addressing the problem, it has only grown. In fact, it has spread into how city resources are used and potentially misused. We have employees stretched thin, community trust wearing down, and people feeling unheard, like myself and many others. We saw tensions rise when our firefighters were ready to walk out. We watched neighborhoods lose confidence, and neighbors, lose confidence because of how basic concerns are brushed aside. We've seen decisions made behind closed doors while residents feel left out of the process, like myself. When the average person looks at our community, we've seen too often in the headlines for the wrong reasons. Our city has been under a microscope for years, more over the past 18 months, even more so. And bless you. And if the spotlight it's not always positive. I'm tired of that. We deserve better than this cycle of negativity and dysfunction. Just because we can, it doesn't mean we should. North College Hill can be so much more than what we've seen lately. We have families here who want to grow roots. We have seniors who deserve to feel safe and heard. We have children who deserve parks, safe streets, and schools that reflect our pride in them. I believe, we need fresh ideas here in North College Hill, and I think that starts with our administration and council. We need leaders who care about the people, who care about what the people say and the opinions of people and the perceptions of people, because they are public servants. Leaders who will listen, understand, and truly emphasize, and who will not put the mighty dollar above ethics. I believe in integrity and accountability. I believe in open doors, honest answers, and respectful dialogue. I believe that everyone who lives here deserves a voice, and that voice should never be brushed aside or silenced for the sake of personal gain. If we truly want North College Hill to grow, to attract new families, new businesses, new energy, then we must start with the basics. We have to have respect, use of our tax dollars appropriately, and making this city a place where we feel proud to call home. Before I close, I want to take a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to everyone who worked diligently, especially Annalise Clear for spearheading the Juneteenth event for the 4th year in a row, for her dedication,
1 minute.
her commitment, and for the partnership that we've had with Chase Bank, and for everyone who was involved. Also, my hubby, hey babe. I also want to recognize Brielle Gaston. She and her team were spearheading, or they did spearhead, the Beautification Award for the best yard in North College Hill. Brielle Gaston did that. Their efforts brought happiness and pride to our community, 1 yard at a time, showing how small acts of care can inspire big change and help us feel proud of where we live. I am committed to being part of that change. I will not stay silent. I will not sit back while things are happening behind the scenes. The handshake deals, those are done because it's not helping the city. Tonight, I ask all of you, council, administration, and neighbors, to remind yourself, why are we here? To serve the people, to protect this community, and to build a city that our children will be proud to inherit. North College Hill deserves better, and I am confident that on November the 4th of this year, our residents will make their voice heard so that we can get the change that we deserve for this city.
Thank you. Next is Lonell Dickey.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood,
may I?
please.
I would like to give a cautionary tale. So, once upon a time, it came to my attention that there was an individual who was approaching vendors who have contracts with the city of North College Hill and obfuscating is the word I'm going to use about their role with the city of North College Hill. To get information about the contracts that we have with these vendors. Now, of course, the vendors called us, they called me, they called the administration, like, hey, what is this? Is this legal? As a matter of fact, it's not legal. But nobody tried to have that individual arrested or anything like that. So as we are getting on our soapboxes and talking about the almighty dollar and what people think and that kind of thing, we may want to be mindful of things that maybe it's coming from a good place. You know, I'm kind of hoping that those kinds of things are, but maybe that's not the appropriate way to do those kinds of things. So just so that you know, that's one of those things that kind of happens behind the scenes. And nobody who sits up here is doing this for any kind of personal gain. There's no personal gain to be had, trust me. We are making pennies. This is a labor of love. All of the time that we spend, all of the things that we do, all of the volunteering that we do behind the scenes that nobody gets to see, it is a labor of love. And that is what I will tell anybody who will ask me. Anybody, you're welcome to come and knock on my door, with my husband's permission, of course, and come to a council meeting and ask questions. I'm happy to answer those. But all is not what it seems to be.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I just want to back up Ms. Underwood's statements. We are not doing this for the money. This is hard work. It's not, you're not gonna get rich off the work that we're doing here. And like she said, the time that we put in for the volunteering, the extra hours, it's considered part-time, but there's full-time effort being given on our parts. Well, there's no, it is illegal for us to meet behind closed doors, so I just want to put that out to the public, that that is misleading and misrepresenting our city. Gentlemen handshakes, those may have happened way back when. I just want to say the administration that sits here before us today is not the administration that sat here in January of 2024. They are giving all, they're doing their work, and they're making change in our community. I just want to thank you, Ms. Dukestein, for putting in all the extra work that you've been doing for this city. It is not going unnoticed at all. You're putting the city in a better space, better shape.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to public participation with Mr. Dickey. Please state your name, your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yes,
3
sir.
minutes. I get 5. You got.
You gotta hit before
You
me.
got to send an email.
I'm Lionel Dickey, 1282 Norman Avenue. I appreciate everything y'all do. Really, seriously. Because some of the stuff y'all go through, the tax y'all get is undeserving. I came up here to talk about something else, but after she got done talking, I don't understand how y'all put up with this foolishness. Y'all do a good job, man. All this underhand shaking. What this ain't the 1940s? Who does backdoor deals these days? No, they don't do that. They make pennies, like they said. They come here to serve the community. All this personal attacks and making it personal, all that is corny. It's corny. These people up here taking the time out their livelihood to come and support North College Hill, make North College Hill better. But the only thing that I want y'all to do for me ain't nothing for the kids to do. Have y'all been to Mount Healthy swimming pool? Have you been to Coleraine swim YMCA? Mm-hmm. What's this out here? Evendale? Oh my goodness. The kids got all kind of things to do. North College Hill, the kids hanging at McDonald's. I mean, we got to find something for them to do because ain't nothing for them to do. Ain't no swimming pool here. I heard what is it called? What is it called?
Splash ground.
What is that? We need something for the kids, adults, everybody. I mean, like he said, everybody. Everybody that has something to do in North College Hill. All you do is want to fight and bicker and point and blame everybody for something. Come on, man. Where the love at? That's all I got to say. I'm proud of you, though. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, too. I love you to death.
I think you're biased.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
We get that tan.
Mr. Wilson.
I just wanted to address the statement as far as, that's one of the beautiful things about having this committee, the Recreation Committee. Me and my co-chair and the rest of the members of this committee are diligently working with finding ways to get our kids more entertainment and things to do here in the city. So I appreciate that. Well, we're working on it.
All right, next is Linda Stagman.
Hi, I'm Linda Stagman. I live on Waltham Avenue. I wanted to go back to something that was said just earlier tonight, that historically what I've seen on council is that classes and training were required. We were required to go to, not mandatory, but required to help you understand your position and the decisions that you were going to make and the things that you were going to do. The other thing is, I thought we no longer leased Pies Park, but I guess by what you're saying we do, and I wondered what we do pay for it now, if you can address that when I'm done. And then in an effort to find the noise ordinance Saturday night, I ended up in Walter Drain, and I don't see any updates after 2022. So I don't know if we give our, I can't think of the word, codified ordinances to someone else other than Walter Drain, or if we're just haven't updated that. And then I'd like to speak to the fact that when we suspend our readings, those readings are set up for a purpose, not only for transparency to the citizens, but also to you who are voting on them. For example, we look at ordinance, or resolution 3-225, where even the city attorney criticized that, and why in the heck did we pass that? And so I don't know how soon you got that legislation for tonight, but it's important to know, and those are legal documents, and everything in there holds true and is binding. So I hope that we make the proper decisions, and we're not making them for ourselves, but we are either elected or appointed to our positions for the benefit of the community, as we talked about. It's not anything else. So those are my Walter Drain, and I was concerned about Pies Park, and then any training that can help you in your job, and make your job a little easier, and maybe you won't have to spend that much time doing it. Once you get to a certain point, then you've got this experience behind you, and you can move forward in your position, and you can help others and learn that way. So thank you. Can't read your lips.
Thank you. All right, that is all we have signed in for tonight. So we will move on to legislation. We have 5 new pieces of legislation, so these are all first readings this evening. Okay, the first one is first reading ordinance number 4, 2025, an ordinance authorizing the Regional Income Tax Authority, RETA, to withhold a fee for subpoenas issued to residents for tax collection purposes and appointing Shiva Stevens Knott as the city's delegate to RETA.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
so I noticed that section 4 makes declares an emergency, but I don't see it in the title. So I'm assuming that title needs to be amended?
Doesn't have to be, as long as it's in anything after the now therefore. The title isn't the name of the legislation.
Okay, that's in contrast to what I've been told by other attorneys. That if it's in the document, it has to be in the title.
Well, the only thing legally binding is what comes after the now therefore. The rest of it is all recital information.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I make a motion that we suspend the second and third reading.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson?
I'll second.
All right, motion on the floor by Ms. Chichester to suspend the second and third reading for ordinance 4, 2025. That has been seconded by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion?
Mr. President.
Ms. Alexander?
Why are we suspending the second and third reading?
Mr. President.
Why is it a rush once again?
Ms. Dukestein?
Mr. President.
Miss Alexander, you're no longer a part of Budget and Finance Committee. This was discussed in Budget and Finance Committee. So we received notification of non-filers. We want to have a delegate for the city of North College Hill to attend the meetings. That portion is not necessarily an emergency, but the non-filer, they waited on us to be able to get this legislation through. We talked about it for 2 months in Budget and Finance, trying to decipher whether or not the city wanted to pursue this, because we were fearful that if we went through this administrative subpoena process, that it would take it out of our mayor's court, and we needed to go back and do research. So then once we were able to get the research behind it, we understood exactly what the administrative subpoena meant, And then at that point, we needed to expedite it so that we can comply. We've actually already missed the deadline, but they were willing to hold it for us for this council meeting to make sure that we got the legislation through.
And Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I just want to, I'm expediting because we're in summer session, so we only meet once a month. And a lot of these things on the agenda have deadlines that will go after that. So we want to make sure we are diligent in getting a lot of things taken care of.
Any other discussion? I will call the roll. Oh, let's reread it here. Suspend second and third readings for ordinance 4, 2025. The motion was made by Ms. Chichester and seconded by Mr. Wilson. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
I have to abstain.
Can I ask why you have to abstain?
I have a personal issue. I'm sorry.
All right, the motion fails 5-0 with one abstention. We have to have 6 to pass a suspension.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
just out of curiosity, does that yield your vote?
The
It's
only
not a
votes
tie.
are a tie.
You can only vote if there's a tie.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. The next one is first reading Resolution 12, 2025, a resolution to approve the contract with RWB Properties and Construction for the North College Hill City Center stabilization and to declare an urgent necessity in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 735.051 and to declare an emergency.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
make a motion, we suspend the second and third reading for the resolution number 12-2025.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson?
I second.
Motion on the floor to suspend second and third readings for resolution number 12-2025. Motion was made by Ms. Chichester, second by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I want to just remind council that we only meet once a month. So the next time this will come up will be in August, and then after that will be September. And then after that, it will be October before things get scheduled. And we have an insurance, if we don't do something with the building, bringing it up to code, we'll have to pay the, what's it called? I'm sorry, Ms. Stevens, can you remind me, what is it called? The abandonment insurance? That will weigh heavy financially on the city if we have to do that. Also, there's a lot of other things to address with that. We all discussed this in Budget and Finance Committee extensively last month, so just want to remind everyone of that meeting that we all had to do.
Mr. President?
Ms. Alexander?
I hear you, but we can't just keep making the excuse that we only meet once a month to suspend readings.
I'm not making an
President?
excuse, I'm just trying to make sure the city conducts business appropriately so it doesn't cost us anything extra, one. And then two, this is something we already voted on, and this is just formality to say, yes, this is who the contract is going to.
Mr. President.
I heard Ms. Dukestein.
Okay.
I'd just like to remind council that there are typically pieces of legislation that are formalities. Mr. Dieters has notified us of that. I actually have contacted other council groups in other cities. We don't really have this as an issue. I don't want to curve your opportunity to properly review legislation. But there are going to be times when we have things that need to be pushed through. We've been dealing with this piece of legislation for quite some time now. Even though we are here at the point of suspending readings, we are fully aware of what it represents. We've talked about it for more than a year, actually almost 2 years. So I don't think that it would be rushed or remiss to consider suspending readings for this.
Ms. Underwood?
I would just remind my colleagues about something Ms. Zorb mentioned earlier, just the rules about meetings and how to have special meetings. It just takes 3 council members and a signature to have, to call a special meeting. So any 3 council members can sign, and then you post the meeting notice on everybody's door, and the mayor's door, city administrator's door, and any 3 council member can call a meeting. So if need be. So I would just wanted to remind us about that rule.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson?
I just want to remind my colleagues that, with this legislation and whatnot, going in the direction it has to, whether we suspend these readings or not, the fact of the matter is that we have to start moving on this program, this project, in order to get it to where we want it to be, whether we tear it down or remodel it. If we don't move on the project, we're never going to get there, and we're going to continue having these conversations.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes,
Mr. President.
Mr. Davis?
Okay. So, in the interest of clarity, is the contract we'd be entering, would that be the same? Would that be the same as the estimate we got in the email? I want to say, we most recently got the email June 4th, and I believe it's dated like I want to say the PDF file is called the Administration Office Stabilization from 4/21/25. Is that the same?
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukes-Dean?
I'd like to call Mr. Davis to page 2. It's right under section 2 at the top, right above that. I'm sorry, below. And it says, according to Ohio Revised Code, and then it gives the price amount that matches the information that you receive, which is both the contract and the estimation of invoice for the stabilization of the city center provided by RWB Properties and Construction.
Mr. President.
That is the amount that was matched. I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
I'll say, Mr. President, I'll say 60-40, because like for example, previously, like with the cleanup ordinances, when there was an addition of what's being done, and then there was an addendum of what the actual contract is. Like I see, this is what the contract is, and I just went through everything I've gone through to see, this is something where the numbers match. But it's just one I was trying to see, like, have we seen this contract before I vote?
Mr. Davis, were you in the Budget and Finance Chair meeting on 6/9? I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I don't think he was.
Okay.
I wasn't.
So, yes, we went over this quite extensively, and it was emailed out for sure. So the contract that you see in your packet for Budget and Finance meeting for June 9th, 2025 is the complimentary contract for this piece of legislation.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, is he?
Okay, so making sure long story less long, it's the contract will be the same as the proposal.
Yes.
Okay.
The contract is the AIA. That was also emailed out to you. So you should have the proposal and the contract in your email. I can forward to you.
I'm reading it. Yeah.
We
Okay.
can.
All right. Ms. Zorb, did I hear you?
You did.
Okay,
Thank
go ahead.
you. So I just heard Ms. Dukestein say we've been staring at this for a year, and I want to question that because we only heard about RWB, I'm going to say in February of this year that we were married to them, and it just got on the budget, or it got encumbered on December 31st, 2024. So we have not been staring at this for a year.
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester,
I think Mr. Wilson was first, but thank you.
you had already called out before that.
Okay. We have been staring at this issue for longer than a year. We have cost this city money continuously not moving forward. We have cost a lot of time, a lot of resources on this. This has been covered in, I want to say, the last 4 Budget and Finance Committee meetings. The last meeting was the extensive information of Budget and Finance, where all of council was invited. And it was also emailed every answer to every question that was asked from the last 3 meetings. The 4th meeting was given every documentation requested. We're missing out on a lot, not moving forward on this. This is something we have to do regardless of whatever decision you make with the building. This is a step that needs to be done. Now, are we questioning the contractor? I don't know what the question was. I posed that question at the last meeting. There was no answer to that then. Ms. Dukestein or Ms. Stevens-Knight, you guys can answer this question for me. What happens, what's our time frame for the $480,000?
We actually, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein?
We're required to give an update this month.
That's what I thought.
All right, everybody's had a chance to speak. We're going to go ahead and vote. All right, the motion on the floor is suspend readings, second and third readings on this resolution, which is Resolution 12, 2025. The motion was made by Ms. Chichester. The second was made by Mr. Wilson. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
No.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
No.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Ms. Underwood?
No.
Motion fails, 2-4. All right, next is a first reading for resolution number 13-2025, a resolution approving the final 911 plan pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 128.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the second and third reading on this.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson?
I'll second.
Motion to suspend second and third readings for resolution number 13-2025 by Ms. Chichester, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Alexander?
is this one of those resolutions that is kind of like standing? We do this every year, this 911 plan?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
actually, this is what Hamilton County requires us to pass in order for us to participate in the 911 system. So
Thank you.
when people call 911, this is what,
Life-changing stuff
right,
here.
exact,
Gotcha.
life-changing things, yes.
Mr. President?
Ms. Orr?
So I have a question for the police chief. Are we currently under a contract? Has it expired? What, like, I've never seen one of these before, so I guess I'm a little curious myself.
We are, but it's something new that came down from them. So this didn't even make it to me. It went straight to the city. So
We are covered right now?
yes, we are covered.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there I'm sorry,
Ms. Orr?
is there a deadline for this?
Yeah, we're like 3 months behind. This should have been passed 3 months ago.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
again, we've discussed this before, and this is something that we discussed in committee before as well.
All right. Motion to suspend second and third reading, Resolution 13-2025. The motion was by Ms. Chichester, seconded by Mr. Wilson. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt Resolution 13, 2025, a resolution approving the final 911 plan pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 128.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I second that motion.
Motion to adopt Resolution 13-2025 by Ms. Zorb, seconded by Ms. Chichester. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. All right, next is a first reading for Resolution Number 14-2025, a resolution declaring the city's intent to proceed with renewing a tax levied in excess of the 10 mil limitation pursuant to Section 5705.19, parenthesis I, of the Ohio Revised Code to support the operations of the city's fire EMS.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I'd like to suspend the second and third readings on
Mr. President.
Resolution 14, 2025.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson.
I'll second.
Motion to suspend second and third readings for Resolution number 14. I say that again, number 14, 2025. Which is a resolution declaring the intent to put a tax levy on the ballot for city's fire EMS levy. Motion was by Ms. Chichester, second by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. I'll read it again. Suspend second, third reading, Resolution number 14, 2025. Motion by Ms. Chichester, second by Mr. Wilson. Roll call, Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution Number 14, 2025, a resolution declaring the city's intent to proceed with renewing a tax levied in excess of the 10 mil limitation pursuant to Section 5705.19 of the Ohio Revised Code to support the operations of the city fire EMS.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson?
I'll second.
All right, motion to adopt Resolution 14, 2025 by Ms. Chichester, second by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. All right, and the final piece of legislation is a first reading for Resolution Number 15-2025, a resolution declaring the city's intent to proceed with renewing a tax levied in excess of the 10 mil limitation pursuant to Section 5705.19G of the Ohio Revised Code to support the repair and reconstruction of streets, roads, and bridges.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I make a motion to suspend the second and third reading.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Chichester with a second for Mr. Wilson to suspend second and third readings for resolution number 15, 2025. Any discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to suspend second and third readings for resolution number 15, 2025 by Ms. Chichester, second by Mr. Wilson. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 15, 2025, a resolution declaring the city's intent to proceed with renewing a tax levied in excess of the 10 mil limitation pursuant to section 5705.19 of the Ohio Revised Code to support the repair and reconstruction of streets, roads, and bridges.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt resolution number 15-2025. That motion is by Ms. Chichester, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I would like to point out that it says that we met at Clovernook Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and we all know that that is not where we are tonight.
Yeah, we're aware of that. We're going to make those changes before it gets signed.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, motion to adopt resolution number 15, 2025. That motion was made by Ms. Chichester, seconded by Mr. Wilson. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. All right, that is all we have by way of legislation this evening. So it is time for further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation.
In regards to, I know this is tight, but it's all right. In regards to ordinance 4-2025, on May 19th of this year, 49 days ago, I sent an email, and the email states as follows. And I'll start by stating I never got a response. So to go back and talk about how we don't get responses, you want to, well, let me actually backtrack for just a second. Ms. Dukestein, Ms. Dukestein, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt the conversation. I do have a question for you. In regards to the 1500 building, in the proposal that you presented, that you have now stated that proposal is now a contract, there is a clause in there that has $300,000. Where can you clarify where that money will come from? I realize that there is $480,000 from ARPA, but where is that additional $300,000 coming from, please?
The $300,000 would come from our general fund.
General fund. Okay. Thank you. So I did send an email on May 19th to all of.
I'm sorry. Let me interject that. To date, that will be where we could pay for it from. We could also get lending sources. We're in a perfect position to do so. But yeah.
Have you reached out to lenders to start that process, or are we more leaning towards general fund, citizen money?
We are leaning towards general fund.
Okay.
However, we have been, we've gotten a credit score for our municipality that if we wanted to go in the space of lending, we have that as an option also.
Sure. So on May 19th, I sent an email, and this kind of goes back to how citizens are being left out of this discussion. Ms. Chichester, you chair Budget and Finance. I thought I would have got a response from you, but I'll read this email. Ms. Chichester?
I'm listening and writing as you're talking. So
Okay. I just want to maybe, just for a few seconds, have your undivided attention, if it's okay. Thank you. Dear members of North College Hill Council, I am May 19th, writing as a concerned citizen of North College Hill regarding the proposed agreement with RWB. I believe at this time there was a recommendation at this meeting, so that's why this email was sent, I think the same night or the next morning. Either way, but there is a proposed agreement with RWB Construction to restore the city center at 1500 West Galbraith. I respectfully urge you not to move forward with this project as currently presented. I talk so loud, I apologize. The community has not even been given an opportunity to fully understand or weigh in on all options. All of
1
those
minute.
yes, sir. All of those options would include what would be the total cost to restore, the total cost, not just phase one. What is the total cost to restore? What is the total cost to tear down? And what would be the total cost to sell the land? So the citizens have not been given that opportunity. Ms. Chichester, you promised us, you told us in November or February or earlier this year, Q1, that you were going to work on that. You said, I'll get back with you on email. That never happened. You said it in meetings. That never happened. You have not got back with any of us on a town hall. And if you have, and I missed it, let me know the date or the time, but we have not heard back from you. I have not heard back from you on a town hall. A town hall doesn't mean that you have to agree with what the citizens say, but a town hall gives you an opportunity to hear from the citizens. I'll give you a great example. The city of Forest Park, right next door, double population than what we have. But guess what, y'all? They are also considering a recreational center. Guess what? They're also having a town hall to hear from the citizens. So I just ask you to do what you have promised to do that you have not done. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Ms. Chichester.
Ms. Carrington, I just wanted to say I am very disappointed in you. You know I've given you this answer in several meetings, and not only did I get this give you the answer about the town hall in several council meetings, we had this discussion after the last June meeting. Personally, you and I one-on-one, and we were standing in front of Mr. Aaron, and we had that discussion about it. About the town hall. So you were giving the answer on several different occasions, and to mislead people publicly to make it seem like I don't address you or I don't answer you. I have responded to every and any email, whether it been verbally in a council meeting. I may have said a citizen has requested X, Y, and Z and given the answer. Now, back in February when I tried to do the town hall meeting, there were several discussions about it. One, we couldn't have a town hall meeting until we understood the direction that the council wanted to go in with the city building. Two, I kind of got voted out of the town hall meeting with my colleagues. You guys wanted to do the survey instead. And then we came back to circle you asking me again, and I reiterated that. You wanted to do the survey. We did the survey. You wanted to do a town hall, but we didn't have the answers, so we allowed you to send emails to give you the answers, which Ms. Dusting graciously composed all of those answers to you in an email. Now, when it comes down to the city, when you're asking the tear down versus we addressed all of that in Budget and Finance Committee meeting last month. We addressed what happens if the building gets teared down and how Public Works would be displaced. We discussed what could the city do in the meantime. We addressed the fact that we're operating out of a senior building. We're holding up programs for our senior citizens in this city because we're operating out of this building. Now, as far as the comments of, would you take your children in there? I wouldn't go in there. We wouldn't allow anyone else's child to go in there as is. But under the repairs and under the removal of the guidance of the asbestos and mold, my children went to that school. I know some of you can't say that, but all three of my children are Trojans, start to finish. So to make the comments of we're not listening to citizens is just not true. I am listening to citizens that I live on my street. I listen to the citizens when I'm out walking door to door. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation?
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson?
I had wanted to address Ms. Carrington with it came to the public hearing.
Excuse me, Mr. Wilson. Mr. President, may I be excused just to stand up and go get something to drink? Please,
Go ahead.
just 2 seconds. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
So, Ms. Carrington, on our previous committee meeting, which was, I believe, June 9th, Ms. Underwood had handed me the ad hoc committee that we created to start the conversation about the 1500 building. So we haven't moved forward with creating that ad hoc committee, so that way we can start having that conversation. But it was moved from Mrs. Underwood's committee and given to mine. So I will get us updates as far as when I'll start that search to start that committee.
Sorry, Ms. Clear, go ahead.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, thank you. All right, my name is Annalisa Clear, 6917 Rob Verne Drive. My remarks are concerning Resolution 12, 2025, which regards the contract. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Anywho, I heard a couple things here that I made notes about, but I'd also prepared remarks. This isn't about the merits in what I'm about to say. It's not about the merits of the project. It's not about who's proposing the project. This is about the mechanics of how this is being moved for the process. I've been a part of many boards and commissions, and I've never had an experience where a committee just expects the governing body as a whole to just take their word for it with whatever they talked about in committee. That is the purpose of writing it down, which is what the legislation is for. This is the communication from whoever's proposing this to the rest of the governing body to make the decision. That's why this is important. Mr. Dieters rightly pointed out that the now therefore is the legally binding what you are going to do. The whereas is the why you are going to do it and what is the purpose of doing it. So with that in mind, I know I've already burned a minute. I will try to be quick. Each member of this governing body is individually responsible for their vote, regardless of who is telling them what, individually responsible. So I will try to be brief. I'm going to start at the top of the legislation, and hopefully I can get all the way through it in the next 90 seconds. The legislation wording is important. It says specifically, administrative offices, council chambers, disrupting the city's ability to conduct business and serve its citizens. We've been serving the citizens here for a year with no disruption. We are not at the other building. There are no services currently at that building that are being disrupted right now this minute. Second, legislation states immediate action is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of North College Hill. As we've said several times, the building has been closed. In fact, it's been closed so long, it's about to be determined to be abandoned. Exactly which members of the citizens of North College Hill immediately need protection with this building right now, this minute. I'm talking about the wording. This is the wording. I'm pulling specific words out of this legislation. The legislation states, and I quote, the city administrator has secured multiple quotes. Recommended quote from RWB. Previous legislation, when passed by council, always says, city solicited, received, and opened bids for the project, and quote, responsible bidder, or quote, lowest responsible bidder. Examples 12, 2021, 22, 2021, both of which took place under our current administration. There's inconsistency in how terms of the project and bidding have been presented to council. Dukestein repeatedly said she had bids. This legislation says quotes. That is a critical difference. Also, as Mr. Davis pointed out, there is no Exhibit A. And any other contract that the city has signed that is appended to legislation, there is an Exhibit A, and that is a very valid point. And it says not limited to, including but not limited to. What does that mean? Is this an open check? That is all I have to say about this. And the mechanics, words matter when it's on legislation. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Dukestein.
So I need to respond to Ms. Clear's statement because she stated that I repeatedly said bids when I did not. I've actually gone back myself and watched those meetings, and I've said in times where I've misspoken and said bids, I corrected myself and I said, in this space, I interchangeably said quote and bid, and what I am referring to is quote. If you go back and watch the June 6th meeting, I can give you the dates and you all can go back and watch. Quotes and bids were not misunderstood. They may have been misunderstood, but they were not misspoken. Furthermore, the employees that are attached to that building are Public Works. And if we do not do something with the building, Public Works will be displaced. That is not going to give us the ability to continue to maintain. Additionally, as stated in the 6-9 meeting, this building is not appropriate to house municipal functionings on a day-to-day basis. We are functioning here out of necessity, not because this is a adequate facility to be able to conduct city business out of. We are doing it out of necessity. We don't have room. Our HR department does not even have space or privacy when they're conducting HR conversations. There are not appropriate files or file cabinets we've had to purchase separately, and locks that are needed to be had in order to deal with the space restraints that are in this building. This is the senior building. It belongs to the seniors. Seniors programs should be going forward in this building. We are unable to use this building for the space that is in. You have no idea of those that do work here, Ms. Clear included, how many times I've seen her, I personally, others of us have had to move these council tables and chairs to accommodate spaces or things that are happening in this building. That level of physical labor isn't required by us, but we do it without complaint over and over and over again. This building cannot accommodate the employees that are in here. She may, Ms. Clear, have worked in that building, but I've worked in this one. And I can tell you that there are things that are uncomfortable. We have to have meetings off-site because it can't accommodate us when there are multiple things going on in this building. Yep. As far as the level of modernness to this building, there is a level of modernness in it. If we don't have a packed schedule or multiple things going on in the building, like when the seniors are here and they're doing their chair volleyball and the other seniors are using this half, I have to have meetings other places. That should not be. Even though we're not complaining about the spaces that are here, if you're going to hear information and you're going to make decisions based on information, then tune into the meetings, listen. I'm not frustrated because we are making a decision informed. I'm frustrated when the information has been put out there, the documents have been sent, and then people are acting like the information has not been given.
Mr. President.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes, I want to piggyback on that with my frustrations as well. If we do our homework, we know what's on our agendas. They've been discussed. Documentation, I think it's like over 100 pages at the last meeting.
Indeed.
And in excessive amount of asking, what are your questions? What is not being answered for you? We did that repeatedly. We can't grow as a city if we keep stifling our progress. We can't apply for grants for our seniors in this building as long as we operate out of here as a city administration. This is embarrassing.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
the last thing that I wanted to address is the unorthodox way that we've pursued this circumstance. As I've stated in almost every meeting that I've given afforded or the opportunity to talk about why it is that we did not go through the conventional process, it is because these are ARPA funds and we had to encumber the funds by December the 31st of 2024. There were city managers that had my role, that had my responsibility before. I don't know what you want me to do, or anyone in that position, starting December the 1st or December the 2nd of 2024 and having a responsibility to get the funds encumbered and going through the legislative process by December the 16th. So the decisions were made based on the immediacy of needing to make the decision. And so we talked through every step, the whys, the hows, the possibilities of what could be, where the money could go, over the projects that it could go, in order to ensure that we did not lose the $480,000. There was even some discrepancy because at one point we talked about it being $134,000, and there was a savings on the roof here that created an increase, a small increase, to bring that amount to $480,000.
Mr. President, can I address the urgency comment?
Please move on.
Yeah, I think we'll move on. Does anyone else has any remarks from the audience? All right, we'll move on to old business. Does anyone have any old business this evening?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I know that Ms. Zorb mentioned this, but I just wanted to kind of follow up on the device situation. Like when do we have to, I mean, I just want us to get something done.
So when I put the devices out there, I honestly did not understand that you all didn't have it in your budget to buy the devices, mainly because it's the Iron Mountain one that kind of impeded, not realizing that that wasn't put in the budget for 2025. So we'll have to appropriate funds, and that's in the tune of $4,500. Now that I've made you all aware, I can get working on the legislation to appropriate the funds. You still have to let me know what you want me to do with Iron Mountain. I don't want to come over into your territory and spend your resources. So it was the right thing to bring it to your attention tonight.
Any other old business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'm probably gonna step on a few toes here, but it's what I do. Can we just pull out our calendars and schedule a town hall now? Like, why can't we just do that?
Because we're in old business. Oh,
That's
you
old
said a town
business.
hall?
Yeah, like, I mean,
No toes stepped on, but
How long do we have to give notice on a town hall?
I believe 30
Is it
days.
30 or 45?
we need a space.
There's nothing in the charter about it, so.
Yeah.
it depends on what
There's
you-
nothing? Okay.
No, so
Mr.
if
President.
you're just listening, you don't have to give any notice. If you deliberate, you have to give notice of a special meeting.
Okay. Ms. Chichester?
Yeah, that's some of the parameters I was going to say, that we have to decide on it. And then we also need a space. This would not be a big enough space for the crowd that it would draw. We would have to figure out where we would have to be able to host it at.
okay, again, I'm gonna ask, like, why can't we just pull out our calendars right now? Let's just pick a day, because it seems to be an issue. It's one that we can easily resolve. Like, we'll figure it out. I mean, we'll figure it out. Let's just pick a day and schedule it and get it done.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood? I'm sorry.
No.
Mr. Steve?
so at the last Budget and Finance meeting, and I'm not sure who was there or who wasn't, because I know we're making some committee changes. The understanding that I had as it pertains to the town hall is the current legislation and invoice and / contract from RWB only stabilizes the building. The town hall would be to decipher whether or not what you want to do with the next steps of the building.
That's what we said.
So you have to get through this current piece of legislation to decipher what are next steps. That's the next phases of the reconstruction of the building. So that was my impression as to why the town hall was on pause. And that was answered in the emails sent, every email that was sent to anybody that I was copied on.
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson?
So I was just going to point out the fact that, again, I had issued a ad hoc committee for us to be able to address this same situation because, you know, folks want to talk about it, have this conversation, and I'm more than willing to do that. That's what was the purpose of creating the ad hoc committee that went to Ms. Underwood. Ms. Underwood at the last committee meeting gave the ad hoc committee to my committee for us to set that up to start them conversations. But yes, I haven't set them up yet because we haven't got through the first part of it, which is this piece of legislation.
Mr. President,
And Ms. Zorb next.
So, I disagree with the whole idea that the whole phasing thing, because to me, my mind, I said I watched a bunch of meetings. Ms. Sixteen, you had mentioned in one of the meetings that you had a bid quote to tear down the building. We have never seen that. Could I please get that sent to me? That was back when you were the finance chair, so it's been a minute. But could you please
it is
send
in
that?
the documents that you received.
I've never seen a bid
Okay,
to tear
that's
down the
fine. I'll
building.
send it to you.
But I guess that's kind of where I'm going with this is, to me, the building down there is way larger than we really need. So if we were to tear it down and build exactly what we need, we'd have a new facility, we'd have a facility that truly met our residents' needs. It would be clean, it would be modern, it would be inviting for our residents to come and visit. It wouldn't be an old dilapidated school. So in my mind, we're not even there. That's where I am.
Mr. President.
I had Ms. Underwood next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to kind of explain something to everybody for a minute. One of the things that I hear the most from people is the police did not read me my rights when I was arrested. Actually, the police don't have to read you your rights when you're arrested unless they plan to ask you questions. So that's an issue that people are confused about. I'm comparing that to this situation. There seems to be quite a lot of confusion. All I'm asking is that we schedule a town hall, let people ask the questions they want to ask, and we disseminate the information we want to disseminate, make a PowerPoint. Like, this is what it is. We don't need to deliberate because we just got a hint from our law director over there, like, no deliberations. Let's just have the town hall so people can ask questions so there's no more confusion and we can move forward with clear thoughts and clear minds, because clearly there's some confusion because we didn't suspend the readings and we seem to be kind of rehashing the same thing over and over again. Let's just have the town hall. We just pull out a calendar and pick a date. We can get this one thing done, please.
Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein.
So I agree that there seems to be some confusion, but there shouldn't be. And the reason that it shouldn't be is because we had a budget and finance meeting where it is publicized. We went thoroughly through. There was a PowerPoint provided. We also have legislation that yields a ad hoc committee that was passed. We also have legislation that yields stabilizing a building that was passed. This piece of legislation, we have encumbered the resources to RWB. We have passed legislation that says we are going to stabilize the building. We have defined what stabilizing that building is. Now we're coming back with a third piece of legislation, and every time we come with a new layer of, just to make sure that you're sure, you go steps backwards as though there is confusion. And so I know that to date, council has made a decision to go forward and stabilize the building. So if we're dealing with that piece of legislation, the town hall and the ad hoc committee should be talking about what's next for the building. If that's what you want to schedule, that's fine. But to go all the way backwards and to talk about tearing the building down when we've already passed legislation to stabilize the building, it steps back and it puts out there that there is confusion when there shouldn't be.
Ms. Chichester?
July 26th.
Oh, we're picking dates.
July 26th,
Okay.
Saturday. But we need to find a venue.
July 26th.
And we need to make sure that accurate information is presented. Regardless of you tear the building down, you still have to do some of the stabilization work.
I'm available.
I'm
What'd you
not.
say?
I'm on vacation.
August 2nd?
Cannot do August the 2nd.
Mr. President, I just maybe objectively, because
Go ahead, Mr. Dieters.
I've kind of stuck my nose in some of this that probably doesn't deserve a law director to stick their nose into it, but I'm trying to recall, because I don't have my notes from it, but at one point there was a piece of legislation that was before council about making some improvements to the building to get us, and then it didn't pass, and then I think I can't remember who it was, but somebody on council then took that and rewrote it.
Yep.
Sent it to me. I reviewed it with that individual, and then it went back before council again. And if you recall, part of the conversation is that the administration had said to council, we don't have a good direction on where you want us to go with this, right? Like, what direction do you want to go? Do you want to stabilize the building, clean up the asbestos and the mold, and then make a decision? Do we want to start at square one with getting input from people, determining whether or not the building, what the building could look like, what the building what it might cost? Are we going to make it a recreational facility and also offices? I mean, there were lots of different things that were part of that process. Council chose to go ahead and proceed with stabilizing the building, and you passed that. So your administration has acted in accordance with what your wishes were by the legislation that you acted. Now, I understand that can change. It's your council, and you can make that decision. But I just want to say to you, it's difficult for the administration to proceed with these kind of things, and it becomes difficult to talk to contractors and have legitimate conversations with contractors when they don't know necessarily if there's a job or not a job or a project or not a project. So whatever you all decide to do, and I think I've said this before over the course of the last, going back, way back when there was a decision to fix half the roof. You all have to get your brain around where you want this thing to be, and then you need to tell your administration the direction you want to go.
Mr.
In
President.
addition, sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Alexander?
Going back to the town hall, the citizens need to be heard, no matter what phase we're in, whether we feel that it's clear or not. There are obviously questions that citizens have. For me, as a citizen, if I was not on council, and no matter if it was clear to everybody in this room, I would want the opportunity to ask whatever question there is. I don't care what the question is, whether it's, are we going to paint the walls gray? We should give them that opportunity. And as far as, I don't know, as far as like having accommodations, I don't know how many people will show up. And if there's standing room only, it's standing room only. I mean, I don't know what other places we have available, but we can't like make that an excuse where we can't have people in, and we're not going to ask, everybody is not going to have their questions answered, even at the end of that night. But as long as there's opportunity that some citizens are allowed, of course, it's going to have to be, a time constraint, probably pretty much like how we have now. But we owe it to our community to let them have an opportunity, not because we're in this phase or that phase. You may have citizens that are all for, hey, what we have passed, but they still have questions. How long is this going to take? And whether they listen to a recording or not, there's still questions out there. You know, they can't dial in on our meetings and ask those questions. So we have to give them an opportunity. You know, so it's the right thing to do. And they're asking for it. Why not, like, you know, Ms. Underwood say, let's do it. Get that off our plate. That's one less obstacle that no one can ask and say, hey, we never did do a town hall. To me, that's low-hanging fruit.
Mr. President.
That's something that we can do. And if everybody doesn't get their questions answered, you know, and we may make that announcement at the beginning, hey, we may not be able to get to, you know, everybody's question. And you don't know, we might have this town hall and only 10 people show up. You don't know. But at least it's, you know, it's been done. It's out there, it's been done. They may have some ideas that may help even us. You know, answer some questions. Oh, I never thought about that. You know, whether we, you know, decide to keep it, they may have some great input. We have citizens who are architects. We have citizens that, you know, are electricians. And they may be able to answer some of the questions that some of the people in the audience have. You know, you never know who you're sitting next to, who may be able to answer those questions. Now, I can't do the 26th because that's my anniversary. But I'm, you know, I'm open to other dates.
That's Tuesday.
July 21st.
So we went from the 26th to the 2nd, and now we're down to the 9th.
What about July 21st?
That's the Monday. I've just figured if we had it on Saturday, that's not a work day for people. We get more. But
I can't do 21st. I mean, if you want to have one without me, that's fine.
I think you're an important component of the meeting.
And if everybody can't show up, I mean.
Right. Every council member doesn't have to be there.
Right.
Then let's go back 26. Where was the 26? Who couldn't be? No. Okay. The 2nd, August 2nd. August 9th.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going down the calendar until you guys.
I already made it clear August 2nd wasn't it?
August 9th.
Well, time out. Time out. Ms. Dukestein, what day is good for you?
I'm out, I'll be out the 21st to the 25th. So I could potentially do the next week, the 28th through 31st, which is the last week in July. And then outside of that, it'll probably have to be August, keeping in mind that we have a council meeting on the 4th and a committee meeting on the 11th. And
Public hearing the following week.
and then public hearing the following week for the tax budget that's due to Hamilton County on the, so.
Mr. President.
To be honest, I would say that September's probably the soonest. I mean, because for me, if you want me to come prepared and to answer questions,
Yeah.
I know that I'm not the primary person to answer questions, but I would like to have a representative from the different spaces that we've had before. I would say September is probably a better day. That gives everybody an opportunity to get here. If you would like to have it without me, you can move up that time.
I think September's way too late.
Well, we waited since February when I tried, but no one. But I don't know. We need to have the right people in the room in order to have answers to questions. Or are you guys just having it to just listen and not give feedback to the citizens?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I would like to actually provide the correct information.
Thank you.
So I want to be able to say it's going to be on a date certain, provide an opportunity for people who can't be there to send questions either by email, write them on a slip of paper, or whatever. I just want to have the town hall and provide the information and answer the questions, because I will remind you all again, it's been decades since Ernesto Miranda was arrested, and the U.S. Supreme Court described when somebody has to be read their rights, and yet people don't understand it. It is what it is. This seems like, just like Ms. Alexander said, low-hanging fruit. Let's just get it done, provide the information, answer the questions we can ask, so we can move forward with clear hearts and clear minds. We can make a decision and get done what we need to get done with this building.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cheney.
just for clarity here, if we want everybody to have a clear mind on what we're doing and all the answers, I think we have to have RWB here as well. And we're trying to schedule a meeting and we don't even know what their schedule is. And I know Ricardo pretty well and he travels through the country on projects. So we should probably check with them to make sure when they're available to be here, or at least a representative for the project.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
I say we table this, and then, Ms. Dukestein, if you can check in with them and see what their schedule is like, so we can try to accommodate that.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
so there's a couple things that I want council body to keep in mind. One is we actually have legislation that has directed administration to stabilize the building. That is what we're dealing with right now. And I want to make sure that the direction of the ad hoc committee that is in Mr. Wilson's committee and the town hall that we're trying to schedule has a topic that lends to the specific legislation that is already out there. I think I would love to have RWB here to answer questions. I would love to have the engineer that came out and did the building. I want to have the building inspectors that we previously have used present, so that you just have the ability to answer whatever questions. I agree with Ms. Alexander and Ms. Underwood that is low-hanging fruit, but I also want to make sure that we are clear about the direction, because we are under time restraints to stabilize the building. And so the town hall could have been had yesterday or it could be had tomorrow. But at the end of the day, we still have to move forward in stabilizing the building. The legislation has already yielded that that part has passed. And this right here, if you look at the legislation, as Ms. Clear says, words matter. The legislation talks about the things that are required to stabilize. I mean, it actually makes sense to get rid of the asbestos, to remediate the mold, to air the building out so that it is dry, to clean out the HVAC system, and to seal the doors and windows so that we don't have a continued water problem. That part still should go forward, even if you decide to have this ad hoc committee that legislation is here for, provided by our law director, and have a town hall. All of these things can happen simultaneously. It is the idea that we're trying to slow one down to prohibit the other. I am all for citizens having a voice. I'm all for them asking questions. But we have a circumstance on our hands that is time sensitive.
So before I go to Ms. Zorb, and then we're going to move on, reminder, the only way you don't have to remediate asbestos is if you just leave the building there standing.
That's right.
Whether we're going to remodel it or tear it down, the asbestos has to be remediated. That has to happen. Ms. Zorb.
Absolutely.
Thank you. But I'd like to add to that, the mold does not, for any of this.
Actually,
You can tear it down and the mold does not have to be remediated.
Mr. President,
I'm not sure about mold. I am positive about asbestos, so
I've talked to
what else did you have, Ms. Zorb?
many contractors and have confirmed that. So I'd like to point out a couple of things. So the legislation to stabilize, I'd like to point out, again, words matter, that's a resolution. There was also a resolution to tear down the building, and administration at that time chose not to follow through on that. So a resolution does not have to be followed through on. And I'd also like to point out that if we want to have a town hall before the next reading, which is what I would like to do, then maybe we need to look at that July 26th or August 2nd date, so that we get to talk to the residents before our next council meeting.
It didn't fit well with Mr. Dukestein's schedule. And we said we wanted to have time for other contractors to be present.
But we can shoot for maybe the August 2nd. Sometime before the next council meeting.
Mr. President, can we table this until we,
It's up to you. It started with Ms. Underwood saying we wanted to schedule a date.
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson.
So, you know, with all the rigmarole that we've been going through tonight and the conversation that we had at the end of the daggone day, the common sense thing is that this project has to be moved in a direction that benefits North College Hill. And right now, in the current situation we're in, we're not doing anything that benefits North College Hill. And that I have a problem with.
Ms. Underwood?
What I will say is, to my colleagues, is that people tend to dig their heels in if they feel like their voice is not being heard about whatever the issue is. At least, you know, I don't know for anybody else, but I feel like this is something easy we can do. And if we're still like kind of kicking, oh, we can't do it because, you know, whatever, then it's like, then we have the situation that we had today where you had several members who were just like, no, we're not going to suspend the readings. I mean, this is so easy. Even if it's just a matter of us getting in a room and just saying, well, that's not a good idea and here's why. That's not a good idea and here's why. We're just providing information, that's all. Just making, we're just answering questions, providing information. You know, I'm not saying the answer has to be, yes, I agree with you for whatever thing, you know, just give people notice and an opportunity to be heard. That is what due process is. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. President.
And I will respectfully disagree with you that a half hour ago you started this, and it's clearly not easy because 30 minutes later, we don't have a date. Ms. Dukestein.
I would love to reiterate that I definitely believe that citizens need to be heard. As pertains to council, I don't care how much information you have. People dig their heels in no matter what. I've answered questions. I've answered emails. I've provided documentation, and people have not changed. And this piece of legislation that Ms. Zorb is referring to, I just looked over it. I pulled it up. It's from 2017. It actually does not instruct administration to tear down. It specifically says, for council, it says the council of the city of North College Hill hereby directs city administrator and finance director to solicit, explore, and investigate financial terms favorable for the city's approval to council to solicit, explore, and investigate. And then it goes into detail. It does not direct, which is why this wasn't followed through on.
Actually, that's what 3/2025 says, to explore.
But that's
Same
not the
thing.
one we passed.
Yeah, it is.
The one we passed
It is.
says,
That's what you're
what we
basing this whole
passed should have been
conversation on.
amended by,
yes, it was amended.
it was amended.
That was what the original one said, and it was amended to say, to give the city administrator approval.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges, complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing.
Besides council, who are we inviting to this?
I don't know, I didn't call it. I didn't put it on the agenda. Who put it on the agenda?
Who needs to be in it?
I'm sorry, all of council,
And?
myself. Okay, and Mr. Dieters.
Motion on the floor to go into an executive session. I'm not going to read it. It will include Ms. Dukestein and Mr. Dieters. The motion is by Ms. Zorb.
Mr. President.
Ms. Alexander.
second.
Any discussion? No. All right, I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We will go into executive session. Any new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
pending no new business, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb?
Second the motion.
Call me tomorrow, and we'll fix those two, so we get those done. Okay.
All right, motion to adjourn by Ms. Chichester, seconded by Ms. Zorb. Any discussion?
She can, I can take.
I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Garbage.
We are adjourned.